I mean, we don't know each other that well either, so I would ask you to just jump into your journey. But something that stood out to me when we had a few of our meetings and stuff is you seem to have a certain passion for community,
Yeah,
you know? So maybe just explain where that came from
for
at
sure.
some point.
For sure. So I guess I would say, my upbringings were modest, but my mom would cuss me out for saying that we come from a rough background just because she did work her ass off just to, ensure that I never felt the struggle as a kid. But my upbringings are modest. And I think one of the biggest things for me in terms of, you know, my guiding principle for why I do what I do is to sort of lead by example. I don't necessarily have the best voice, the best public speaking voice. I'm not necessarily, someone with a huge platform, but the chances where I do get to lead by example are opportunities that I relish and that I really take really seriously. So every chance that I get to speak to a kid that has a similar upbringing as myself, I really take a big responsibility to give them as much knowledge as I have and sort of show them that there are some opportunities out there for you. My elementary school was in between a really nice neighborhood and my neighborhood. Um, and I could recall there was only so many of us from the tougher end of the tougher end of the street, I guess. But I can recall teachers referring to us as project kids, and we weren't necessarily allowed to be in the same class together. Um, they would do their best to sort of like split us up just because we would, quote unquote, cause havoc, cause trouble, and we didn't necessarily have the wherewithal to like be around the other kids without distracting them type thing. So I think that was a bit of an eye opener for me. I may have been like 9 or 10 at the time, but I didn't know any better. That's just the way things were. Another thing that I sort of think about now is kind of just like Thursdays are my favorite day of the week. And I, looking back now, realized that that was when my mother would get paid. So every day leading up to every other Thursday, I should say, um, it was tough. Like we was scrounge, eat bully beef and rice. I don't know who else is Jamaican, but we eat some bully beef and rice and stretch it as far as we possibly could. Um, but every other Thursday, she would get paid, and we would have like McDonald's, and that was always like a big thing. So just looking back and sort of like thinking about it, like, oh man, that was actually kind of messed up. Like in that immediate instance, I didn't necessarily think about the struggle or think about what we were going through, but I think as I reminisce or as I go back in my head and sort of imagine some of the things that I was going through, like I'll say to myself like, "Yo, that was messed up. It shouldn't be like this," or "That's unique to my experiences," as opposed to like some of my coworkers. I think in the Ontario high school experience, there's a portion, I think in the 11th grade, where you either go to university classes or you go to college classes or applied or academic or something like that. Um, I think there would be one or two black folks per class, and it would just be like, well, like, why are they sort of pushing the black folks to to the applied classes? Why are they telling us to do co-op? Why are they telling us not necessarily to take the academic approach to our education? And I don't know. I think personally, just the way that I was raised, I'm coming from a very prideful uh, parental background. I relish those opportunities, but I didn't notice that it was common in my friends. And when I look at where I come from and sort of the path of my friends of where I come from versus my own, I don't necessarily know how to feel. It's a bit of survivor's remorse, survivor's guilt. It's also me wanting to prove myself for myself. And it's also me wanting to remain authentic to where I am, to where I'm from, and to who I am. But when I look around to sort of like my peers and my friends of past, it's tough. It's tough. It's hard to sort of see them without direction. I would say. So I'm currently sort of thinking of success in three different ways, um, and each of which are luxury. So I've been thinking about the luxury of time. Of course, money allows you to be more free and have more freedoms. The luxury of family and love, and that's just, the love of your people, the love of your community, the love of your friends, significant other, family, what have you. Um, and the luxury of choice. Again, that sort of diverts back to, just having the financial freedoms. But that's how I define success right now. Any balance between those three is the goal. But I think one of the biggest challenges for me is the bit about code switching in a corporate office. Uh, I can't speak the way you and I speak. I can't speak the way I would speak with my friends. I think there's a natural a natural sort of urge to justify why you're here, to justify that you're not just, the affirmative action hire, to be 10 times better, to get half as much usually. Um, I don't know. There's been a lot of conversations being had ever since the events of summer 2020, just in terms about inclusion and diversity and um, being equitable. And I'm really glad that those conversations are being had. But a lot of it is performative, unfortunately. Um, I really look forward to a day where people truly do understand where other people are coming from, just in terms of their background. And that could look any different way from any different intersection um, of who you are. But I think the biggest thing that I've been struggling with is staying true to who I am as an individual while trying to climb up the corporate ladder, and also trying to show other kids that you could do it too. I guess the biggest win that can't go overlooked is just having the foot in the door. I know it doesn't seem like much, but very rare do we get an opportunity to sort of have a foot in the door, to have a seat at the table. So for me, that was a huge win. Celebrated that. Um, Another win for me is sort of educating the rest of the room, corporate, the corporate room, um, as to what's really going on. Whether or not they action from their learnings is up to them, but I think just sharing true insight with them is a huge win for me as well. I gotta thank a couple of my friends, a mutual friend of ours actually, Jamal from the Kickback. Again, like I said, I suck at public speaking, man, but he just invited me out to a couple of the the kickback, sorry, initiatives that he had, and I just saw that there was a void and that there was kids out there that really needed some representation. So I thank him for that. I had to get out my shell. I had to, get comfortable being uncomfortable, and speaking with kids and just letting them know that there's more to it than being like your favorite rapper or being the next Kobe Bryant. If you like basketball, there's a million jobs around the NBA. If you like sneakers, there's a million jobs around that. Um, it's just that each one teach one mentality that I really want to spread across my immediate community anyways.